Okay, we're good now. The first time I did this panel, I was so determined to have the Animal Crossing music play that I just plugged my DS in and opened to the opening screen. But the problem was when the music stops, you just hear the footsteps of your villagers. So it was the weirdest background music after a while, like... I was like, okay, I should probably find the soundtrack for this. Let me bring out my notes and I can get started. For just a show of hands, how many of you here are Animal Crossing players, just out of curiosity? Good. I like that there's just as many non-Animal Crossing players as there are Animal Crossing players. Well, the good thing is, this panel is not just an Animal Crossing panel. In fact, it kind of is an offspring of a weird set of events for me. So I'll start with, there's probably 3 things you need to know before this starts. Let's see, I'll start with the not so sad first. So the first thing you need to know is that although I've been a gamer my whole life, I'm a late bloomer when it comes to pocket gaming. In fact, because I've always had console games, when the first Game Boy came out, I thought it was garbage. Because as a night owl, there was one thing that I couldn't do with my Game Boy, and that was, look, you're already shaking your head, play it at night. Like, the first Game Boy was not backlit, and so to me, it was that thing I took on a long road trip. You know, if I was stuck in the back of a car, yeah, I'll play Tetris or Load Runner or something for a few hours, but it really, to me, wasn't what I considered a game. Which is funny, because that's, whoa, it got loud in Animal Crossing Town. It's funny, I was thinking about it when I did this panel last, gaming has changed completely just in the last few years of how we feel about games. But, so suffice to say, I didn't have like a Super Nintendo, I didn't have a DS when they first came out. In fact, my first DS was given to me about, it's been about 3 years ago now. I was given a 2DS, which I lovingly called my toast. Because it fit in my back pocket and I could take it anywhere. And the only reason I got one is I worked on a video game and I wanted to play it. So I told my friends, I was like, I really want to play this video game. So my friend got me a 2DS. And the other funny thing you need to know is I've never played Pokemon until I got my 2DS. So I'm a grown man in my 40s, and I was getting excited about things like catching a Caterpie, which my friends are like, you're the only person to ever get excited. I'm like, I caught a Caterpie! And I'm like, said no one ever. So, pocket gaming or portable gaming to me was, way to break the microphone, was something new, and that feeds into part 2, which is the sad part. I'm also a person that has suffered with what is referred to as clinical depression since I was 7 years old. That's a long time to be bummed out. And so, I can't ever say, who in here suffers from depression? Who in here knows someone, or is someone, or deals with somebody who deals with clinical depression, like actual clinical, yes. Look around the room, that's a whole lot of us. So, those of you that deal with depression know that it's this thing. It's not, the thing that bothers me the most about depression is they still really haven't gotten to the bottom of all of it, and they're still testing out medicine, and most of us that deal with depression and had depression and go through therapy and whatnot have kind of learned to live with depression like a bad roommate. It's like, you're here again. And then you find ways of dealing with that depression. And that's kind of how this panel started. 2.5 years ago, I guess the year my brother was diagnosed with a terminal illness, which is really cool that the con is doing so much for him, was probably the worst year of my life. I found myself not engaged after 9 years. My brother suffering from a terminal illness, my father having a stroke, and losing a series of 5 friends in the course of 4 weeks. Not friends deciding not to be my friends, just actually losing to death. So to say I was dealing with more than my fair share that year was kind of an understatement. So that's kind of how this starts. Now the funny thing is, like I said, I've been a gamer my whole life. I've always had gamer friends. And my friends that were DS people, and even some of my GameCube friends, were always crazy about this game. I think it's funny that this music's playing while I say this game called Animal Crossing. And my friend Cody, a million years ago, was like, you gotta play this game, it's super awesome, it's called Animal Crossing. I was like, okay, what is it about? And he was like, well, you're like the mayor of this town, and you talk talk to these animals and you can shake the trees and I was like, no, that sounds like Farmville. No, I'm not playing that. So like over the years, I would come to tease this friend quite a bit about Farmville. I'm like, oh, still playing Farmville? Like, it's not Farmville, it's Animal Crossing. He even got, I call it the Toast now, or the Pop-Tart. He got the Animal Crossing DS that has the little Animal Crossing like Happy Home Designer stuff on the top that looks like a Pop-Tart. So, flash forward to this horrible year, my best friend, who is a guy that, if you're on my Facebook, you've seen more than a few pictures of this guy. At the time, I was at a convention and I was really having a hard time dealing with crowds and stuff, and he goes, hey, I want to suggest something to you, and you better not laugh at me. Which is weird for your best friend to say. And I was like, dude, I never laugh at you ever. He goes, okay, I'm going to get you a copy of Animal Crossing, and I want you to play it. I was like, because it was that thing, like, what? And he goes, don't laugh, dude. And then it's so hard to tell the story because I feel like a jerk, but like, he's like, that game has gotten me through some of the hardest times in my life. And I was just like, okay, dude, I'll play Animal Crossing. So here I sit on a plane, getting ready to fly off to another convention, and I start this game. I think this music always knows exactly when to play the weirdest thing. So how many of you have played Animal Crossing, especially in its current form, New Leaf? You find yourself on a train, barreling towards somewhere, you don't know where, and my favorite first moment in the game is there's an annoying cat that sits down and won't shut up. I'm like, ugh, this is just like being on a plane. So I was just like, what do you want? And this cat basically goes, who are you? Where are you going? And you have to make up a name of the place you're going, which I learned quickly. Don't use a name you'll be ashamed of later, because I'm now the mayor of Toontown. Like T-U-N-E though, Toontown. And he's like, oh, that's a great place. I hope you have fun. And when you get off of the train, what do you find out? Somebody, anybody. What? You what? Your hair and your stuff. Well, that's based, that's a super advanced question. That's based on your answers. I found out that much later. Based on the answers you give decides what you look like. But what is the big thing you find out? Somebody said a funny version of it. No, don't say that. You don't find that out until later. What's the first thing you find out? That's the second thing you find out. The first thing you find out is what? Oh, you Animal Crossing people are just messing with me now. You're the mayor of this town. You're met by this adorable little doggy named Isabelle, who will later be your best friend, your queen. I call her my ride or die. But you find out you're the mayor of this town. And of course, my character does exactly what I would do. What are you, high? No, I'm not the mayor. They're like, yes, and they call you by name. Don't laugh. Yes, Boogie G, we've been waiting for you. Yes, I'm Mayor Boogie G. And so this little dog proceeds to take you to, they said they've been waiting for you, but what do you move into? A tent? I'm like, oh, well, you rolled out the red carpet for me, I see. Thanks for my tent. She brings me a lantern later, so I guess it's the modern city I've moved into. But all jokes aside, this assistant will guide you through the beginning of setting up what's going to be your life in a new town. You find out very shortly after that in order to not live in a tent, you must sell your soul to this raccoon named Tom Nook. Which I forgot to bring it. I have a shirt that has Tom Nook on it and it says Forever Alone. Yeah. It's a takeoff on Forever Love, but
I remember when you got that.
Yeah. I think it was Boston. Yeah.
It was Boston 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's the best. So you find out you're in debt to this raccoon, which you will be in debt to for most of the game. I finally don't owe him anything. Thank God. Thank God. But just in time for the Switch game to come out, I mean, to be totally in debt to Tom Nook all over again. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So one of the things I'm told right at the beginning of the game is, here's your mailbox. Feel free to write any of your villagers' messages, but be sure to write to all of them because some of them will get jealous. I'm like, I'm not emailing a talking cat. I'm not sending mail to a frog. So as I wander around this town, I find this little store, which is the Nookling, and it appeals to my instant gratification since there's limited edition stationery, so I have to buy the stationery. And begrudgingly, I eventually compose a letter to, I had a cat living in my town. How many, I'll ask this question a little bit. I have a crabby cat named Anka that lives in my village. She's an Egyptian cat. And the funny thing is, you learn quickly that some of your villages are nicer than others. And so Anka had been fairly rude. She's like, well, that's a look. That's the first thing she said to me. I was like, excuse me? So I decided to not only email Anka, but test out the AI of the game, because I'm a nerd. I'm like, well, how good can the AI in this game be? So I write a letter to Anka, and I'm like, dear Anka, your house smells like a cat box. Your mayor, Boogie G. So I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. And now, while I know the AI is not a person, it's not going to send me an intelligent response, I wasn't quite ready for the cute email I got back. It said, dear Boogie G, I love your letter. Sometimes I read your letter out loud before I go to bed. Let's be friends forever, Anka. And instead of going, this AI sucks, in my mind I was like, she wrote back. So I started being the nerd I am, started testing the AI. I learned not to tell somebody in your village you love them, because my next door neighbor, who's a frog, who's my best friend, Henry, I just said, Henry, I just need to say it out loud, I love you. And now Henry lets himself into my house and calls me Cupcake. It's the weirdest thing. They're like, hello, Cupcake? And I'm like, oh, Henry. So for the next few weeks, I would email the ostrich and email the squirrel, and I kind of got sucked into this game. I got sucked into this game really quick. A lot faster than a lot of RPGs and things I've played. And the funny thing is, like, again, while I was playing this, like, my literal world was falling apart. And, like, that's what consumed my thoughts most of the day. I was suddenly, like, excited to break out my DS at lunch. I was suddenly, here's a weird depression thing. A lot, and I'm not unique in this, at least I know. One of the things I do when I go through what I call a wave of depression is I push all of my close friends away from me. And it's something that a lot of people that deal with depression do. It's one of those things that you do because you obviously don't want your best friends to be around you when you're at your worst. You also don't want to be a bummer. You don't want to be the emo guy. So you just kind of push people away. But then there's this horrible byproduct of doing that. And that is you feel... Nobody said it. Wow. Y'all are tired. Y'all, thank you. I was like, y'all need some coffee. This is like my third cup, so maybe that's why I'm anticipating. Yeah, you stay lonely because you're kind of in your own place. Weirdly enough, this was the first time in a long time I was going through like a real wave of depression that I was not lonely. Because I was talking to Henry and Anka. And the weirdest thing about this is, like, I had developed this weird kinship with these little people that don't even exist. And I found myself being very, like, when somebody asked me to catch them a mackerel, you'd be sure I was down there fishing to catch a mackerel, because Anka needs a mackerel. And weirdly enough, like, it took me to another place. It definitely made a part of my life easier to swallow. The funny thing is, when I first started doing this panel, I knew nothing about the history of the game. The cool thing is, I did this panel in Chicago, and this young man in the front row, who's now a very good friend of mine because of Animal Crossing, which is so funny, was like, do you know how the game was created? I was like, no, why don't you tell us? So the guy, the original designer for the GameCube version of Animal Crossing, was a game designer that was scouted by Nintendo. And he was basically right out of college, asked to come work for Nintendo. So he moved from a small village to a gigantic city. Who's ever had to relocate to another city? You were the most popular person when you got there, right? No, like, it's the worst situation because you don't know anybody, you don't have your things, you don't know your way around. And so in this guy's mind, he always had the idea for a game that would simulate what it was like to be in a little town and be able to make friends with everyone. And it was originally designed as a friendship simulator, which I was like, you did it! Because the weird thing is, even though I've played a lot of video games over the years, I cried when Eris got killed. That's not a spoiler after this long. But like, never had I been like so like day to day, like, I wonder where Henry is. Like going to look for a villager or whatever. So it made me think. I thought back because this isn't the only time in my life where I kind of dove into video games. I started realizing and putting together the fact that every time I had a major crisis in my life, that has been when I kind of dove into a video game and didn't come back for a while. The first one I can remember, and someone, because we're at an anime convention, someone will correct me on the pronunciation of this, was a game called Ico, or Ico, whichever, however you want to say it is both right. But it was this, anybody play that game, Ico? Anybody? It was the predecessor of Shadows of the Colossus and Last Guardian. It was this fantastic puzzle game, but it took place in this really cool, like, open world environment. You could always hear the sea in the background, you could always hear birds, and it was like just the most serene, relaxing environment. And so I started thinking, and I started going back, and I was like, well, and then I played this game. The more I talked to people who play video games, the more I found this to be kind of a common coping mechanism. Like, who has a game that you play just to kill time? Who has a game that they play just to get their mind off of things? You see the same hands popping up over and over again. Like, what are the games you play just to kill time, just to waste some time? Yeah. Zombie games, Animal Crossing. What is yours? Sims? Oh man. I have a friend whose house in real life gets disgusting, but his house in Sims is immaculate. I'm like, I think you need to clean your real house first. What do you play to kill time? Harvest Moon, yeah. I haven't, now that I'm so Animal Crossing done, however, it's like, you really need to go back and give Harvest Moon another shot, so I need to do that. Yeah, what do you play to kill time?
To kill time, it's Destiny.
Destiny, wow.
Immerse in a game, it's God of War.
It's God of War. Oh, when you want to get immersed. Yeah. My time killers are rhythm games. Like, I love just little rhythm games, and there's a new one for the Switch that I love, and it was suggested in this panel called Demo. It's like a little thing that looks like a cross between Jack Skellington and Slender Man, which is not cute. But it's this little gothic Lolita girl finds this creepy dude, and he teaches her to play the piano, and it's all these classical piano songs, but it's a rhythm game. And then there's Boas, which also, that's actually the reason I got my Switch, is because I didn't want to play Boas on my phone anymore. But rhythm games have always been a real easy, fun, quick, like, I'm just gonna play 2 or 3 games. My new one is Mario Kart, but like, that's not quick. Like, I said this yesterday, I was like, I'm just gonna play 1 round of Mario Kart, which is 4 races. Like, why do I think this is a short thing to do? Last night, it was like late when I was trying to go to bed, and once I got connected to the internet, I was like, well, I can play a little Mario Kart. Like 30 minutes later, I'm like, go to bed. Now, immersive games, so you mentioned immersive games. What are the games that you play just to get away from everything? Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I really like to play Don't Starve.
Don't Starve, man, that's a game that gets mentioned a lot. I still haven't played it yet.
Yeah, it's really hard to stay alive, so...
And isn't there another one that you play with another person?
Yeah,
Don't Starve alone. Together, that's it, yeah. I haven't played either one of them, but yeah. I've heard that has come up more times than I can remember in this panel, specifically like, you know, things people play and...
the version of Trying Not to Die, but it's so cute. Like, it's
That's
so
awesome.
Cute, but
Yeah.
also it's so disturbing. Like, my
Yeah.
favorite character is this little girl whose dead ghost twin follows her around.
Follows her around, that's awesome. That's cool. What about you, TJ? Or Logan, sorry, I'm still getting used to that. Dragon Ball, which one though? There's so many. Xenoverse 2. Oh, Switch, you're playing the Switch version. Mine's upstairs. Who's got their Switch with them, by the way? Yes, a few of us. Good. I was afraid to take mine out at first. I was like, I don't want to take it. I'm gonna get it broken. I know, yeah. Now look, he's got his out already. Yeah. So Dragon Ball games. What? Okay. So the thing I forget to ask. What is it about? Like, what is it about Don't Starve that like kind of takes you away from everything?
I really like that aesthetic. Like, it's very aesthetically pleasing to me.
Yeah.
And also, it's just like, this girl's only concern is that she needs to eat food and not be killed by monsters. I have so
This
many
is an
other
easy
things
enough
to worry
concept. Yeah,
about.
exactly. What is it about Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse or Dragon Ball Xenoverse that kind of takes you away from everything? Just being immersed in the whole Dragon Ball universe.
Letting out my anger in a positive reinforcement in a positive way.
Mine used to be Left 4 Dead for that reason. I'm like, nothing makes me feel more relaxed than shooting the head off a zombie, and people are like, that is not pleasing to hear.
There's stuff going on that we'll talk about later. But
Yeah.
I'd rather beat the living snot out of somebody.
Somebody on screen, yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to beat the living snot out of Joel after.
Yeah, oh yeah, well he's too fun. He makes too many good noises when you do
out
it.
of him and that just prevents
Yeah.
me from getting arrested.
And that's an aggression. Yeah, it's like the people that go into those rec rooms and like break old TVs. It's the same thing, just getting it out of your system. Yeah, the what? Like the liquid nitrogen panel, exactly. Break stuff.
Yeah.
What game do you play?
I play Minecraft or just drive around in GTA.
Oh wow, I used to drive around in Grand Theft Auto and just listen to the different radio stations.
Max from San Andreas.
Yeah, I was Chatterbox FM was mine. But yeah, like Minecraft is another big open world one that I hear a lot of people are like, I just go make things in Minecraft. I go, work on my village or whatever.
Make it a whole new life and just start.
Yeah, that's one of the, I think games like that, like games that have so much potential that you really can just kind of get lost in. And then like, whatever is sitting right at the front of your brain, you just kind of like, oh wait, hang on, I almost got my roof finished. You don't like, how am I gonna pay I'll pay rent after I get my roof finished. Like, it just kind of keeps your mind active on something else. What's yours? Yeah. I didn't hear it. What is it?
You may need key.
I don't know that game.
It's pretty kind of obscure in like horror
Oh, cool.
exploration, and it's really relaxing. It's like you're exploring the world with this girl's dreams, and you.
Oh wow.
There's not really an objective. All you do is like explore her dreams and like ride around the journals, and the music is super calming, and I like that.
That man, as the tinkly tinderbox plays, dude, the music in a game like can break or like make or break that game. I think one of the things about Animal Crossing that I love is the music. That's why when I did this panel the first time, I'm like, I've got to have the music. I've got to have the Animal Crossing music. Because hardcore Animal Crossing people can tell you what hour of the day is their favorite music. I have friends who are like, 7 p.m. Like 3 1 a.m. I like 1 and 2 rainy day. Like when it's raining and it's like the little tinkly music like this. 5 a.m. Oh, that's good. That's a relief on it because that's right before everything resets too. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. 10 o'clock? Dude, 10 a.m. Oh, that's the like chipper happy music. That's awesome.
It just makes me want to explore my town.
It does, that music definitely feels like get out there and dig up some plants. Like that's so good. Well, and what was the name of the game? You were telling me about what is it? Yumeniki. I'll have to look for it. What platform is it?
It's for the computer. It's like an RPG maker.
Is it on Steam?
Yes, that.
Oh, good. Oh, awesome.
It
Then I'll
started
find
the
it.
whole RPG maker horror genre.
That's awesome. How many of you, this is a weird question since you brought it up, how many of you find some kind of solace in scary games? And it's so weird. I used to play Corpse Party, and I was like, oh, Corpse Party, and they're like, that is a disgusting game. And I'm like, but it's like reading a scary, to me, playing Corpse Party was like reading a Nancy Drew book. It's like an old-time scary, like, ooh, I wonder what's gonna happen next. But I thought about it later, and like between the zombie shooters and Corpse Party, I'm like, how is it that I find, comfort in this? And it could just be like, with Corpse Party, it's a story that I follow, sometimes it's the music. What were you were about to say one, yeah?
I was gonna say one huge one for me is Diablo.
Diablo, man, and they're just about to do the Diablo for Switch too. I'm super excited about it.
Fingers
Oh.
crossed, Diablo 4.
Oh man, like, there's so many games that I feel that way about. Like, come on, we've been waiting. What's the? Is it? I always say the wrong name. Is it Half-Life? Half-Life's the one. The gear. Yeah. Man, okay. As much as I love Left 4 Dead, could we please get the finish of that game before you do another Left 4 Dead? But that's, and then Portal. You know, Portal is kind of offset from that. That was part of the last orange box, but like, there's been a million other Portal games, but no more of that. Okay, so Diablo. What is it about Diablo that you like?
To me, I've got a similar thing to him. It's just sort of like, I like the fantasy worlds, but also it's kind of, you kind of hit it on the nail. It's kind of weird, but the dystopian universe, like, hey, you are this outcast, you're this like fighting demons and everything.
Yeah.
Just mindlessly smashing through enemies with lights and colors. And it's fantastic.
When you said dystopian universe, I thought, like, there's another game that I forgot that I love that is the most morbid little game. Has anybody played Limbo?
Yes.
Darkest little game, but some part is like, it's because it's just you, and you manage to kill like the giant spider and all these, but like when you think like kill the spider, you pull its legs off and then you roll the body and walk over it, but like, it's one of those things again, I think it's something about the atmosphere of that game that makes it so pleasing, but yeah, there's a lot of games like that. The weirdest thing is I haven't heard the game that I hear said the most. Nobody in here plays World of Warcraft? What? This is the first time I've said that. And they're like, no, we don't. That's so wild. Yeah. 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 Wow, so you have been playing a while.
Yeah, it's just like, it's fine, but it's a completely different experience
From what it used to be.
Yeah, from what I used it for, like,
I never really thought about it that way, yeah. It's weird, the first time I did this panel, I have a group of punk rock friends in the Midwest that go to all the conventions I go to, and they're kind of my like motley group of friends. And they usually sit behind me during panels and they try to make me laugh, and they're troublemakers. And so the first time I was gonna do this panel, they're like following me into the panel, and I'm like, yo guys, don't act stupid at this panel. Cause like it's a serious, you know, like it's a pretty serious subject matter, and like I'm also admitting to playing the most tinky game on earth, so I'm loving it. So I was just like waiting to be crucified by these guys after the panel, and my friend Will, who I call a little ball of hate, he comes up to me after. Oh, that's not us. I was like, there's a storm in my town right now. I don't know what that sound is. But my friend Will comes up to me and he goes, it was the next convention we were at, he goes, you gonna do that Animal Crossing panel? I was like, yeah. You mind if I talk on it? I was like, what are you gonna say? Because I was just like, knowing he was like, I hate you. I want you all to die. Like, he's just this weird little angry guy. And he said, I want to talk about World of Warcraft. And so I was like, sure, go right ahead. And like, I almost cried while he was talking. He basically talked about being a weird little kid in the rural Midwest and being into nothing that everyone around him was into. So he talked about all through junior high school, he never made a single friend. And through most of high school, he didn't make a single friend. Because he's from an area of Iowa that, if you don't like pigs or sports, there's no sense in talking to you. And so he just didn't talk to anybody. And he went on to say that like playing games like World of Warcraft was the first time he ever worked with a group of people, especially once you had things like Ventrilo where you could communicate with, you know, a raid party or whatever. He said that was the first time he learned how to socially, I mean like, this is weird, he was in high school, first time he learned to socially interact with anybody. And he went on to talk about all the friends that he's made playing WoW, and that like his friends from England that play WoW from, you know, they've come to the States, and he's made all these friends in real life, like these games, because it's so funny when you're like, oh, I'm talking to my friend on the computer, like, that's not your friend. Yeah, it is. Oh, I know more than a few of my friends that have gotten married. They're like, where'd you meet World of Warcraft? I'm like, of course you did. Like, and they're still together. Like, you know, laugh if you want, but they're still together. Where, you know, Britney Spears' marriage lasts, what, 45 minutes? Like, an hour? So, yeah, it was interesting hearing him talk. And then the funniest is I have a friend named Matt who recently moved to Texas from, like, Kentucky, like a landlocked area of Kentucky, but he moved next to, he's a teacher at Texas A&M, but he moved next to a big lake, Lake Jackson. Yeah, Lake Jackson. And after he moved to Texas, he would call me, and he's also a gamer, like he's forever trying to get me to play League of Legends. I'm like, no, I'm not competitive, no. So when he was first getting adjusted, one of the first things I remember is like, he had said, I've made a few friends or whatever, and he's like, things are going good. And as we've been on the phone for a while, he's like, hey, I'm gonna have to go, I go fishing at 3 o'clock. And I was like, oh, okay. So I figured he just like loads up a tackle box and goes to the lake. And like, it happened a few other times. We'd be on the phone, he's like, hey, I gotta go fishing. And I was like, okay. And so one day he called me, because Texas we get these horrible rainstorms where like we fill up like a giant bowl and everything floods. You'll see it on the news, watch. And he called me, he's like, oh my God, this rain. He's like, there's water all the way up to my driveway. I'm like, oh yeah, as long as it doesn't get to the door, you're fine. And we were talking about Texas weather or whatever, and he goes, well hey dude, it's almost 3 o'clock, so I gotta let you go, I'm gonna go fishing. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, it's 3 o'clock, I always go fishing. I was like, dude, it's raining cats and dogs. He's like, nah, dude, I go fishing in World of Warcraft. And I was like, what? Like this whole time in my mind, I imagine him and his buddy at the lake, like, nope, he's in World of Warcraft fishing. And he said the funniest thing is, I go, you live next to a lake? And he goes, yeah, but here's the thing, it's air conditioned where I fish, and I always catch things, and it doesn't cost me any money. Touche, like you got it. So I forget that World of Warcraft is a big one, and when I started doing this panel, I never realized how many people, like, a chunk of their life is lived in World of Warcraft. Final Fantasy, anybody Final Fantasy Online players, 11? When they put the calculator in 11, I have a group of friends that I used to go drinking and bowling and all this with, and my friend Laura was sitting at the table one night, and like we were all talking about video games, and she looked totally detached from the conversation. She was just like, and we're like, are you okay? She goes, no, actually I'm not. And we're like, what's the matter? And she's like, I just found out that I've spent one whole year of my life playing. And apparently the calculator said she'd spent a year in game, and she was undone that she had spent that much time in a game. But that's the thing, like, video games take you other places and allow you to deal with things that you don't normally deal with. I'm making sure I don't forget anything. I always forget something in this panel, and I'm like, wait! Is there anybody that did touch on a game that they do? Like, I'm trying to think. The weirdest one I've heard, yeah. Yeah, okay.
I know a lot of people do it because PSPs don't exist anymore, I'm pretty sure. Thank you. I do Fantasy Star.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of it. You get your own character, you can choose like different classes, and
Yeah.
of course, I say partial to beast classes, because you have this beast mode.
Yeah.
All the customizations, all the cool weapons. My favorite was this one where you have a staff and you gotta switch it around and mix the parts.
Oh, wow.
Just like go around
And those games, the cool thing about those, like some of those games are super expensive. Now if you can find, I've got a Vita now. I moved my PSP to my Vita, I moved to a Vita. Those games are so dirt cheap now. Like, hey, $10 for Final Fantasy, for the weird Silent Hill game that they made for it. I got it for like $10, but those games are cool. I think the coolest thing about the PSP and the Vita was they were the first next-gen handheld. They were the first handhelds that played games that weren't like Tetris and Pokemon. Like they actually played games. Like you said, a game where you can customize a character and have... Yeah. And I love my DS, but like I also like, awesome graphics too. That's why I have a Switch now, yeah. Same reason. What was the other one? You had one.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. What now? What about that? What about it just pulls you in?
I really like the story, how you're like torn away from your human life and you're just kind of left to your own devices, but at the same time, like everybody wants to be your friend and help you out and like help you go on missions. And it feels like you're not alone even though you've left your entire life behind.
Games where you have a party that you work with, like I'm playing, I showed Colin, it is the most ridiculous thing on earth. I'm playing the new Final Fantasy XIV Pocket Edition. It's so ridiculous looking, but it's got all the serious acting, so these little chibis are like, tell us what happened to the king, and you're like, but for some reason, games where I'm in a party and like people are helping me out, like I'll help you, you know, like, I'm like, yeah, let's go fight another dragon, you know, like I feel like I can do, and that like, as weird as it is, it's a little bit of a boost. Like you got your pretend friends that are like helping you out. So yeah, I could see where that would like, the minute you mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, like having people trying to help you is a good thing. I think the flip of that is one of the reasons why Animal Crossing helps me in dark stuff is all my villagers need help. Because not only do people help you, but like somebody like, I really am trying to collect this one bug and I can't find it. I'm like, I'll find that bug for you. Bugs. I think having those tasks and having people that can help you out, or a character that you can help out, is kind of the equivalent of helping an old lady across the road, you know, like it's one of those things. So, did we miss anybody yet? Breath of the Wild. Oh, I was waiting for somebody to say that. Yeah. What is it about, now, man, I can think of about 4 things. What is it about Breath of the Wild that pulls you in?
One, the horses. I have the best horse. That sounds ridiculous. But like the horses, the open worldness of it, and just being able to like go in any direction, and going like directly to the boss, even when you first start the game. I have a friend that just loves it because it rains all the time. They're one of those people that loves being in the rain. They're like, I just love that it's always raining. That is one of the most beautifully designed environmental worlds. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Like sometimes in the wild, I'll just like ride on my horse and ride down the roads and like look at the scenery. It's so nice.
That's one of the things. Who was it that plays Destiny as a time killer? That's one of the things that I like to do. Like, if I'm done raiding or done doing all my patrols, I'll just get on my Sparrow and just cruise around. They're like these little air bikes. And I'll just ride around, like scooting around Mars for a little bit. So yeah, I get just getting on a horse and going for a ride, for sure. Yeah.
So I probably bought it 6 times over now. Spent over 1,000 hours in Skyrim.
Wow, that's one. I have a friend that goes to a specific area of Skyrim and has a thing that nudges, like I think it's his oscillating fan nudges. He's got his controller set so it nudges his controller just so he can listen to the atmospheric music and environment sounds in this one area of Skyrim. Yeah, Breath of the Wild and Skyrim are the 2 that I didn't get. I normally hear every time, and like, thank you. Yeah, Skyrim is another one that is gorgeous. And like, not only that, but the soundtrack, that's another game where without the music, it would be good, but would it be that good? Like, you know, it's one of those things that there's so much in it that gives it that ambience that is literally like going somewhere else. Breath of the Wild and Skyrim are both like traveling to another place. That's kind of how I felt about Ico. It was like, oh, I want to go back to the beach. Like, I want to go back to that pretty place. But yeah, I'm glad somebody said Skyrim. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure if you've heard of this series. It's the Professor Layton series for the Nintendo DS.
No, I don't. But she has.
Just a quick thing. It's like a puzzle-related game, but
nice.
But the thing I really like about it for your panel, I'd say more of like what helps me to escape is I like games with very heavy story and very well-developed characters. And my favorite video game is from that series, Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask, and just what happens to the villain. Just I sympathize with it and with the character, and it's one of those things where you can relate. It could be something that could happen to you, and so you relate, and it's not that thing like it's a horrible thing it could happen to you. It's just like it helps you to cope with things and understand.
Nice.
This is just because he did the things he did because someone said, hey, your life's been messed up, and now let me show you the way. And he thought the way was to do these evil acts, and it really wasn't. And he hurt so many.
Okay.
He hurt so many people in the end, and he felt so bad. And then everybody was literally, his best friend didn't betray him. His best friend literally built this whole.
He's not really a bad guy.
Yeah, his best friend literally built this whole city as his, like, I built this for you, dude. I've been waiting for you, and just the villain just. I can't see anybody not cry.
Oh, that sounds
it's a
really
good
cool.
game. You should check it out.
Definitely. The funny thing is, it can be the most complex game with like a hard storyline to like. Now I'm going to say the name of this game. Do not laugh. There is a game called Teddy Togetherness. Does anybody know what that game is? Awesome. I love when nobody's ever heard of this game. Imagine a dating sim, only it's a teddy bear. Only it's your best friend. And you actually have a friend ceremony, like a wedding, but you like commit to being friends for life. It's the most ridiculous and most adorable thing on earth. It's called Teddy Togetherness. There's actually another name for it. There's a Japanese version of the game, and then Teddy Togetherness is the American version. Apparently the Japanese one is even wilder than the American game. But the one thing I didn't hear, and I guess I don't hear it as much as I used to, other people, are dating sims. She's like, there's a lot of people that dating sims provide this weird open storyline that it's kind of a create your own, adventure, only with people. Yeah.
Mystic Messenger.
Yeah.
Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, the funny thing is, if y'all noticed in the Switch marketplace, it looks like they're moving some of those love story games to the Switch now. So maybe but yeah.
Daddy's coming out for PS4.
Dream Daddy.
What Dream? Really, Dream Daddy is coming out for the
I
PS4.
shit you not. It just got.
So crazy. Someone brought up Dream Daddy in this panel. They're like, I play Dream Daddy to kill time, and I'm like, what is that game? And then they brought up the graphics, and I'm like, oh god.
Made by a game
But knowing where it came from, now I'm like, okay, at least I get this. Yeah, I get this. I thought it was like some group of Japanese designer, like, oh, Game Daddy. Like it was like no, or what is it? What's the name? Dream Daddy. Like, no. But yeah, dating sims are another one that it's weird that what people can enjoy. Yeah.
The dating sim, Mystic Messenger. Once you build a bond with the character, they will ask you if you've eaten during the day and if you're hydrated. And if you say no, they'll get upset with you. And they'll call you during certain times and check up on you. And it's really good for your mental health.
That's like Love Plus. Plus. If you play Love Plus, your girlfriend will get very angry with you if you don't do what she tells you to. And the funniest thing is Love Plus, they make you take them places, which requires you taking your DS out in public and taking a picture of where you're at. I am not taking you to dinner.
No, we're not going to the most expensive place on earth. No,
yeah, it's like, here, I'll take a picture of my poster of Paris. Oh look, I took you to Paris for the weekend. but it's so funny, and the funniest thing about all of it, again, we're talking about places and people that don't exist, like your girlfriend in Love Plus. I think it's funny that you say I have a girlfriend in general, let alone that my girlfriend in Love Plus. But the funny thing that this brings up, and this is kind of the weirder thing about talking about gaming, I don't see many little children in here, so how many adult gamers have had to deal with somebody in their life that gives them crap about playing video games? And it's always the same stuff. What are the things you're told? I could go through them, but isn't that for children?
The biggest thing I get told every day at work is, that's a cool Pokemon shirt. Whose kid did you take it from?
See, again, for kids, yeah. What else? Waste of time. Okay, what else?
Can't spend your whole life doing that.
Can't spend your whole life doing that.
Yeah, there's YouTubers that do it.
The what?
Yeah, there's YouTubers that do that, so.
Right, that's their job.
Go YouTuber.
Yeah. In the back, you were gonna say something.
Oh yeah, it's more of based off of the wasting time thing. It's sometimes my mom's like, you really should be doing this, but you're doing that? And emphasizes that, and when I say that, I mean, she's referring to the video game, and I'm like,
yeah.
Really?
Nobody said
I want to do it.
Nobody said the one that I was waiting for. What is it?
Oh, my child plays the same game you're playing.
I love in the Animal Crossing community on Facebook when they're like, I get made fun of because I'm 25 and I play Animal Crossing. I'm like, I'll be 50 this year. Like, the funniest thing is the older Animal Crossing, I'm 45 and I've got kids. I play in my kid. I won't let my kids play on my save. And like, I love seeing that. Because a lot of games that kids enjoy, we enjoy too. Like, that's no thing. What else?
My ex gave me his Animal Crossing. I'm deleting his account today.
Oh my God. Killing all those innocent villagers.
That's part is on the 3DS.
Oh no.
So and he has the Link outfit, like the full Link outfit that's like DSL.
Yeah.
So I'm getting rid of that shit too.
What?
Yeah. So what's funny is that all my parents are younger.
Nice.
I'm only 15 years apart from my mom.
Oh, that's cool.
So something that's funny with me is that we both get told the same things, and my mom kicks my ass both in her Animal Crossing world and with Mario Kart. She's like, I've paid off all my debts and never mayor. She's been playing for like 2 weeks. I don't know how she does that. So we both will get like, oh my goodness, my mom gets it way worse than I am. She's like, you have a daughter who's like 20. Like, what? Why are you still doing this?
It's so funny when I meet people that game with their parents, because like, I forget that your parents might be better at a game than you are. That's the worst.
Video games, but I am not good at them, except for Don't Starve and Oxygen is not
Nice.
But everything else, my mom is just like an A+ gamer. She's like, I've been playing since I was 6 in the 80s. Like,
Oh my gosh, you got it. Yeah.
My mom's gonna be 48. She's 48 right now. She still plays Pokemon.
Nice.
Pokemon Go. And she can beat anybody in here in Street Fighter 2.
Oh my gosh. Tara McKinney, who's the convention manager for Funimation, she introduced her dad to Pokemon Go.
Oh no.
Now, he's never played a single video game in his life, but she was like, my dad needs something to occupy his time. She's like, I think I'm gonna get him to play either Cookie Jam or Pokemon Go. I was like, Pokemon Go will get him to walk, get him to go places. She's like, okay. Now he's like this insane level, and he's like, Tara, there's a bunch of something or another spawning over here. You ought to come over to my house. And she said, my dad has turned into this weird Pokemaster, like, it's never, like, my mom is slowly getting there. She's the Angry Birds crazy person right now, but the one thing nobody said that I always hear from, I have an older brother that nobody knows about. Everybody knows about Chris, but I have a redneck brother.
Oh no!
They still blame Bill Clinton for things, which I'm like, Dale, that was a long time ago. You need to let go of that. So his big thing is, because his kids, obviously my nephews love that I, do anime and I play video games. And the thing he always whines and complains about is the money. He's like, that's just a giant waste of money. I'm like, don't you have season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys? How much did you pay for those tickets? How much is that Dallas Cowboys jersey you have on? How much is that Dallas Cowboys baseball hat you have? Like, man, anytime somebody has a hobby, it doesn't matter what it is, it's a lot of money. Oh, it's the Roost. This is my favorite music in the entire game, the coffee shop. But nothing is free. The waste of time argument, because he's like, well, that's a giant waste of time. I was like, you play fantasy football. That is a lot of time you spend writing in that dirty little notebook of yours. Like, any hobby that you have requires that kind of time. Yeah.
I was gonna say the funny thing is, I work up at Ben & Jerry's, and
yeah,
so
nice.
There's a ton of like rednecks and like other people who are, they'll come in and be like, talk about this car, like, oh, did you see this car, or did you see this? And they tell, once again, the same thing, is that a waste of money? But they probably have like 5 trucks or like 3 different cars. And just, like, buying all these different parts and like customizing it. But I can't spend $60 every once in a while to get a game.
When I compare the money I spend on gaming to what my brother spends on the Dallas Cowboys, I'm like, all right, I'm wasting my money. It's not. I think gaming is nowhere close in comparison financially. It's just like, going on. To me, spending $60 on a game once in a while is like taking somebody on one fancy date, because a restaurant's pretty expensive. So yeah.
Plus you can keep playing.
Exactly. And how many of us have games that we played over and over and over and over and over? Yeah, all of us. Yeah, yeah. In the back.
I'm sorry.
Oh no. Okay, you started, so we'll get to
I've
it.
had the same game for 2 years, and I've been playing it for on and off for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
So $60 for 2 years worth of gameplay is not bad.
Absolutely. That's the thing I always, because I'm kind of not a huge fan of DLC, but Destiny has proved to me that that makes my game last 2 or 3 years. And I'm okay with a little 29 here and 39 there to keep playing a game that I love longer. Yeah.
And my thing is too, I know the money point, but like, I feel like with gaming, you can control that money point a lot more better than like buying a ticket to a sports game.
Oh yeah.
Just buying a car.
Absolutely.
You can be like, oh, I'm not gonna get that console this generation because it's not a good console. Or like you can control your price point what you want to buy.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend, like that argument even with me stands because he has 2 PlayStations, he has 2 Xboxes, he has the Switch. I'm like, that's almost like 16.
Oh yeah, you can go too crazy on gaming. I have a friend that collects like all the systems and all the old cartridges. I mean, just like, but how many times have we seen stories about crazy old rich men that have like 8 million Cadillacs? Like, it's the same thing. It's something that if you're passionate about it, you want to collect it, there's nothing wrong with that. I think the bigger thing is that I've seen proof over my lifetime that games help people. Games help people in a number of ways. Whether we talk about my mental stability or, I don't know if y'all have ever heard it. Have y'all ever heard of a group of people called Able Gamers? If you haven't, look into them. They're the coolest people on earth. They raise tons of money all year long and they buy specific, very expensive controllers for people with disabilities to play video games. And it's because of the therapeutic value of video games and the coordination payoff that video games provide. They're recognized by the medical profession. So if science and medicine say video games are beneficial to someone, I think my brother needs to sit down. Yeah, in the very back.
Have you heard of the Tetris effect?
No.
That's a medical, that's a phenomenon that they observed in Harvard Medical, where even people who are unable to form memories, people who have amnesia and no short-term memory or no long-term memory, can still remember Tetris from day to day.
That's amazing.
They can still see in their minds them playing Tetris.
That's fantastic.
If they know the word Tetris, they can remember playing.
Oh, yeah, even if they don't know what it is, they remember playing. That's crazy. I went to a convention. It was the coolest convention I've been to in a while. It was called Gamer Grace, and it was a gamers convention. But that year they focused on inclusivity, and that's where I met the Able Gamers. I met the guy that started Able Gamers, but he said, "Man, if y'all want to see something fascinating, go see Ready Aimless Fire." And I was like, "What is that?" So it was a panel by a blind Counter-Strike player with a headshot ratio you would never believe. And I watched, he played for about 10 minutes and then he talked and then he ended the game, he ended the panel just by playing some more. So I'm like, man, this is the best panel ever. He starts doing something he loves, talks for a few minutes, and then goes back to playing. But he explained how they have an audio feedback device that helps him aim, and like, dude, his headshots were crazy. And it was all through the use of these things. So like, and my favorite part about it is, of course, we were at a convention and there were children from the internet there. So somebody had to be a scumbag. And they're like, well, I know I like first-person shooters, but what do you get out of first-person shooters? And like, everybody looked like they wanted to kill this little kid. He goes, oh, that's a great question. Because I'm blind, right? And the kid was like, well, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, like, what do you like about first-person shooters? He's like, well, I like killing people. He's like, yeah, me too. He's like, well, I like sneaking up on him. He's like, oh yeah, did you see that stealth I did? And he was like, well, and I like the environment. He's like, yeah, I hear it all. I hear, the footsteps. And the kid was like, yeah, but you can't see it. He's like, well, I can't see anything. And the guy was just like, I like it for the same, you know, I don't see anything ever. And like the guy had such a great way of like putting this kid in his total place while making him go, oh, huh. It was the greatest shutdown I've ever seen. But yeah, that's the one thing. And unfortunately, the music ended before the panel. This has never happened before. Hang on. I know, well, there's one specific song that's supposed to play at the very end of the panel. It's this one. It's my favorite song. It's the Town Tree song.
Oh, yeah.
I know, sometimes I just go sit under the tree so I can hear this song. But, like, the thing about doing this panel, when I first started doing it, it was really just kind of an exploration of, like, why I love gaming and why gaming has helped. But in the course of just the 1 year I've been doing this, or I guess a year and a half now I've been doing this panel, I heard and seen some of the most amazing things, like the Ready Aimless Fire panel. I got a letter from someone this year that came to my panel in Anime Boston, and they were like, hey, I want to thank you for the panel you did. I grew up the only child of an alcoholic mother, and I developed a bond with my villagers. And they said, I can't tell you how great it felt one New Year's Eve when my mother passed out, because I was excited to go spend New Year's Eve with my villagers. Thank you for making me not feel alone, and this is not, knowing this is not a unique thing that many people, and like, I had to take a 10-9-8 after that. I was like, but it's true. Like, there are games that fill a void in all of our lives. See, this music is perfect for this. That fill a void in all of our lives that, like, we're lucky that we've found games. And if we're not hurting anyone, and we're spending our own money on it, and it's something that brings us joy, who cares? When my brother, likes to get all huffy and puffy about video games, now I just let him do a show for me. I'm like, yeah, you done yet? Because at the end of the day, I'm not tearing up someone's lawn, I'm not doing drugs, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm sending Henry an email that says, Henry, I love you. And the payoff is, when I least expect it, he's gonna knock on my door and go, hello, cupcake. And that's okay. If a make-believe frog keeps me company, that's fine. If meeting somebody on World of Warcraft ends up being your wife, that's fine too. Yeah.
I was gonna say you should get your brother a hunting game for Christmas.
My gosh. I got my brother, so my brother inherited my Toast, my 2DS, and he only plays one game on it. I think he thinks you can only have one game on it at a time, so he only plays Ghouls and Goblins, and that's all he plays, is Ghouls and Goblins. So, I'll have to get him a hunting game for sure. Oh, you're talking about my redneck brother?
Yes.
Ugh. He'd be lucky if he gets more than socks from me. It's funny. No, we give each other a hard time, but so anyway, thank you guys for being here. I think I've got 3 minutes. Does anybody have anything else they want to add? I actually finished early. What is this? I was here early. I finished early. What's up?
Going back to DLC in your life, getting more bang out of
more bang out of the game. Yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops 2 come out 6 years ago, and Mob of the Dead, which takes place in Alcatraz, we're still finding Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, oh
yeah. Almost 7 years later, this is like going back to the PS3.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's just like, oh hey, we're finding Easter eggs still. This is amazing. And just like, you develop a bond with the warden that just comes out of nowhere and just tries to kill you. But
when you mentioned that, I forgot Far Cry is another one where the new Far Cry started as this kill the cult. There's one DLC where you go to another planet and there's aliens or whatever. But here's the funniest thing, you know why I bought Far Cry to begin with? Because you could pet a dog in it.
Yes! Only reason to buy.
They're like, you can pet a dog. I was like, what game is this? I have a real dog. I can go pet my real dog. Yeah, in the back. I think that's it. I think we're almost out of time. What's the last thing?
I never get to tell is like, back when I first found games, it was like only like me was into it. Like my brother was into it a little bit, but like I was like hardcore into it. Like, and it's just like like in high school, I would close myself off.
Oh yeah.
I act like I like sports, or like act like I like this or that, just to like fit in.
Oh yeah.
Because like the people I had, like kind of the choice to hang out with and that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
They were total creeps. So it's just like I had to be like, oh, I have to fit into this group because I want to actually be social.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to have a lot more friends than these three people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I didn't have much of a choice in my head.
Yeah. So what did you do? Did you?
I mean, I started to open up in later high school, but like by then it was kind of, I guess it gave me like I bonded with the characters in the game.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So you were playing. That's what I was trying to figure out. Were you playing games at the time? So you were. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, like I said, my best friend is a frog. Well, I have a real best friend, but my other best friend is Henry. And that's okay. Your best friend can be a frog in a video game. Like, if people keep us company, like, that's why I think it's so funny about my villagers. My villagers keep me company. And if that gets you through a hard time, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Unfortunately, I actually heard a little alarm go off, so we're 1 minute over. So the next time you see me, I will be saying words you should not repeat. I will be doing an 18 plus panel, and it will not be politically correct. I will warn you now. But I will see you guys a little bit later, and then I've got panels and stuff tomorrow. But thank you guys for being here, and thank you for giving me ideas of new video games I need to spend my money on.